importance because in many ways everything that you heard in the last presentation exemplifies precisely the problems that you encounter and you're likely to see here. Yesterday I talked about why Cambridge and why we're so keen on India engaging in it, and it's all about this concept of shared excellence. The academic level, that's easy for me to see. But we've got to look for the shared excellence of being able to deliver something on the ground here in a way that is going to make a difference. And I thought we saw an excellent example of that in the last presentation. It's not enough for academia to merely say, this is what's going to happen. I feel a little bit like standing here, a bit like St. Paul on the road to Damascus, having been converted. That conversion for me happened when I was working in West Africa, where you could begin to see how much could be achieved for very little in poor populations. Yes, in my area, in the area of health, how little is actually required. But what's required is excellence. It's not enough just to have the great research ideas, but you've got to have excellence in how you innovate, and then that excellence, which is seen so much in the commercial sector, of how do you take that innovation and put it into a situation where you can really use it. Now, whether you use that for market ideas and profit making, I'm sorry, I don't see that as an ignoble goal at all. It's great if you can make economic benefit from it. But you also have to think of how do you make that available to those who can least afford it. In my world, I've continued that. I chair a small foundation which seeks today to couple academia and industry to make drugs for populations with neglected tropical diseases that will never pay the commercial rate for a drug that's actually discovered. But you can cut deals. Now, the fact is big global corporations actually have to now have an ethical business charity. Well, I can be out there convincing them that ethical business means making some material available cost, challenging some precepts. So these things can work. The question is how do we get together to ensure that excellence in research translates to innovation? From my end, how do I get young people to start thinking not just of the most expensive innovation I can make? There is as much skill in making it affordable, making it simple. People forget the biggest thing that allowed for eradication of smallpox was not all the strains of virus, was not all the epidemiology. It was the 1931 change that occurred that converted smallpox from a cold chain requiring vaccine into one that could be administered globally and didn't need refrigeration. Innovation, not new research, not new discovery, but that is what enabled global eradication of a disease. So at my end, and at the end of the academic groupings here, we need to think about how do we encourage people to think of innovation in those terms as real research and real activities that they should be undertaking. We need to encourage that. At the other end, we need to have companies that look to make a difference. Whether it's under an ethical business banner, whether it's under the banner of having a good business plan which will still convert this into a commercial entity, but actually one which also thinks about what is trying to be delivered. So that's that group. The key for me is how do we bridge the two? If we can't bridge the two, then all the excellence and stuff in the universities, all of the great planning in the business world is going to be fantastic. But you know, we've lost the win-win. We'll be good at what we do in our own little silos, but we will never get the win-win. And that's where the Cambridge Innovation Centre is really trying something quite distinctive. And that's to say, we want business-to-business communication. I'm not the greatest understander of the business world and language, and I suspect if I gave my business plans to any of the experts here, they'd be ripped to pieces in a minute. But I also know they don't know as much about as I might about some of the problems that we actually need to solve. So we need to identify problems, see where the gaps are, where the breakpoints are, and then work together to overcome them. So the Cambridge Innovation Centre will be doing that. The Deputy High Commission here in his office is absolutely keen on making this happen. Yesterday I was assured by the Chief Minister of the Government of Karnataka that he is determined to make things available in order to promote both the business community here in Bangalore, but also making that business community relevant to the huge rural population that we actually see that comprises Karnataka. So huge local backing. I can also tell you from my meetings with the Prime Minister, he wants to see these events happen, and we want to see them happen here in country in India. So, ladies and gentlemen, all I can do is to urge you to take away some of the messages from here. Look to where that support is. My university will certainly be there among them, and I'm prepared to say, even though I shouldn't be speaking for my colleagues, it's not just Cambridge. If you scratch the surface in any UK university, we are seeing major changes. I'm afraid if you support Formula One racing, and you remember, for example, my last place at Imperial, they made a great play out of the fact that they were the supporters of the Williams development in the wind tunnels of when Williams were winning all the Formula One championships. Huge amount of work went into that. When I was at Imperial, we decided we were going to have a competition. And the competition was, what electives would you be doing in engineering? And a whole series of projects were put up, including Formula One racing, new metro trains, and all of the rest of it across the engineering sector for electives for students to do. You might be really surprised as to which of the two projects, even at an institution like Imperial, won out on the day. The first was smokeless stoves for Nepal, and the second was actually a horse-driven harrow for Mongolia. Our students see this. They see this in the world that they are going to occupy. They are interested in how to make technology affordable and utilizable in poorer parts of the world. So I mean, it's easy from my end because I know the bedrock that I have in the university is already behind this. Please look to your organizations, see where that drive is. Yes, keep the business model. Yes, make money from it. But at the end of the day, do make it affordable for populations that can't. And you will find the academic community right behind you. And certainly in the case of Cambridge here in Bangalore, we're working very hard with the High Commission to make sure that this can happen. So for me, innovation is great, and yes, Britain, and I hate that Britain is in small print. Britain should be in big print, that we should be leading this particular area. But just put one other word in this. Affordable innovation is great, because unaffordable innovation is great in the United States, but it ain't going to wash here in India. So we need to make it relevant, and working together, I know we can. I haven't got much more to say, but it looks a fantastic meeting, and I'm doing my usual thing. I'm being whisked around from one centre to another. I can't really enjoy it, but I really enjoyed that last presentation. There it was, an affordable modification, 4 springs that probably came off the back of a van that actually made things work. A chamber which is actually quite simple to construct and has converted high-tech into something that can be transported, and 32,000 people are better off as a consequence. And it's covering its costs, which is good too.